Fans, welcome to our final edition of 2024 CUC Coaches Weekly Softball Edition. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Well, it was another busy week for your team, and let's go back all the way back to last week when your team had a doubleheader against nationally ranked Dominican. And the first game didn't go quite as planned. The second game came back and was a really competitive second game for your team. So we can talk about that a little bit. What's the mindset when you know you're playing a really tough opponent like that and you drop the first game but then are able to come back and play well the second game?
I think it's just been what we kind of focused on for the entire year, just trying to compete every single time you go out there. So like the first game has to be done, you got to come out and you got to compete the second game. And I think we did a really good job of doing that. I mean, they're playing very well. They're up from 1 through 9, and defensively they made the plays. We just didn't make a couple plays here and there, and that's kind of what hurt us. So again, it's just staying as competitive as possible and trying to finish out that way.
And then let's move to Saturday against Wisconsin Lutheran. Your team was able to pull away a victory from the Warriors there, and it was a doubleheader in which your team played the long ball really well. Talk about that a little bit.
I think we had a really great practice from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, or Thursday and Friday last week. We're just kind of focusing again on the fundamentals of what we do well or what we need to keep working on. And I think each player took that and they were trying to keep getting better and better, and we saw some of that come to fruition. We put the ball in play a lot, first and second game. Even though we lost the second game, we were putting the ball in play a lot. So that's a really good thing, and I hope that carries over into this week with our 2 doubleheaders coming up.
And you mentioned those 2 doubleheaders. You've got Rockford and then CUC, both at home here. So what's it going to take, let's talk about Rockford first, to pull away a couple of victories tomorrow?
Just consistency, just coming out and playing. Continuing to just look at the little things that we are, compete against ourselves. And I think if we can do that, we can get 2, for sure.
And then CUC, I assume the same approach.
Yeah, it has to be the same approach. So that's really what it is. It's just trying to get us better, trying to move on, and kind of thinking about things a little bit longer term because, we're still vying for that last spot in the conference tournament. We need some help from some other teams too, but we can only control what we can control. So if we just keep focusing on the doubleheader tomorrow and then get better for Friday, then it's in our hands and we have a chance to do what we need to do with that.
That's right. And taking 4 games this week would go a long way in determining who gets those final spots.
Absolutely.
So because this is our final edition of the year, I want to go back and talk about a little bit of your team throughout the season. And so just a couple of players I want to highlight. First, Emily Garcia. And this is a player that we've talked about a few times on the show, but a freshman that came in, started for you right away at second base, and is hitting the leadoff spot the majority of the season. And she's hitting just over 400, which is top 20 in the NAC right now. So what have you seen out of her, again, that's just given you the confidence to keep playing her there? And how have you seen her mature from the time that she stepped foot on campus to the player she is now?
It's her consistency, but it's not even that. It's the work she puts in behind it. So, if you tell her to do something, she'll work on it. If you give her some advice, she'll take it, she'll listen, she'll ask questions, and she'll keep working on it. She's not afraid of putting in hard work, and I think that's what we're looking for. I think we've really had a great season from our middles. I think we had some great plays. They worked really well together. It was a great tandem, and I think that helped solidify our infield quite a bit. So I think Emily did a great job. I'm looking forward to seeing what she does next year, and just keep building on that. So, but it's her mindset. I'm never satisfied with what I am now. I want to keep getting better. How do I get better? And putting in hard work. Working hard and hard work are 2 different things. Putting in the hard work is important.
And then let's talk about her partner in the middle infield, Arissa Santos. And she was coming off a freshman campaign in which she earned all NAC honorable mention honors. She's now hitting exactly even 400, and that's the best on your team. What have you seen from her freshman year, knowing that she was going to come back and have a strong bat for you, but you've seen that play out in her sophomore campaign as well?
I think she was second team all conference. Haley was all honorable mention. But taking that, I think Arissa has earned the opportunity for that top team this year. However, we put her into a position where she hasn't played that position before again, and she's kind of solidified that a little bit. And you take your bumps and bruises. It's not necessarily a sophomore slump, but everyone kind of knows who you are now, and they're going to try to make you better. And I think she's taken that and she's tried to work on that as much as she can. You see some maturity in her. She isn't afraid to ask questions now and try to get an answer and not try to work through things on her own. And I think that's really kind of helped because she's been a little bit more vocal and tried to be, to really lead on the field in a very quiet work way. And I think that's a pretty valuable thing taking into next year too. And that's just her personality. She again has that hard work ethic. You have to put in the hard work. It's not about working hard. It's about the hard work ethic that goes into it.
And then the last group I want to talk about is your pitching staff. And for the most of the season, led by Ashley Schroll, but you've gone a lot pitching by committee with the other members of that staff. And that was something that we talked about early on, and we've continued to talk about, and how you've seen growth from those players individually as the year progresses as well.
Yeah, you have, and it's a very young staff outside of Ash as far as experience goes. So Ash has just gotten better as the year's gone on. I think she's kind of understanding where she's at, what she needs to do, and how she's going to work at it. And then you have the emergence of Eden, which she hasn't pitched at the collegiate level yet. So this is kind of like her freshman campaign as a sophomore. Same thing with Megan. So both of them have done really great jobs of figuring out what it's like to pitch at this level, and you have to understand that it's a little different. You have to be able to be consistent, and that consistency will come. And then you saw a little bit of some great things out of Callie, who still doesn't have as many innings as a junior necessarily would have, but she's been very successful in that middle relief type thing. And Emma Borelli is making progress in her own right too. So it's not bad. It really isn't. I mean, I think we're moving in the right direction, and we've got really good things that we can see, and we'll get better at that as well. And
so the last thing to talk about here today is, let's fast forward to, let's say, a month from now. Your season's complete. What's the approach in the off season now, recruiting wise, and then with your squad that's coming back? And when does that off season stuff start to prepare for next season?
Well, we're kind of, as a coaching staff, already kind of preparing for that. However, I like the girls to take at least the month of May off and not do anything. I think rest is an extremely important thing, as most athletes coming into college have been playing year-round now in one sport and everything, and it takes a toll on your body. And when you get to be 18, 19, 20, it takes a toll on your body a lot more. So getting some rest and being able to take the summer, a little bit of the summer, to try to mentally get yourself, give yourself some rest mentally, physically, and emotionally, I think is really important. So we'll work with Ken, and we'll get some workouts for the summer. We'll send that out. We'll do cardio stuff. We'll give them some ideas of what we want them to try to work on during the summer, and then we put it in their hands, and we'll get ready for the fall and start all over again, kind of figure out where we're at. So recruiting never stops, which is great, so that will continue on through the month of May, June, July, maybe take a little break in August right before school starts, but that's really about it. So.
Well, it's been an honor to talk to you each week and to get to follow your team closely over the past few months. And we look forward to seeing how this week and the final spots of the postseason tournament play out. So
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
And now, the starting lineup for your Concordia University Chicago Cougars. Batting first and playing shortstop, number 15, Arissa Santos. Batting second and playing second base, number 22, Emily Garcia. Batting third and playing first base, number 13, Melissa Haji. Okay, thank you. Batting fourth and playing third base, number 1, Bella Archuleta. Batting fifth and catching for today's game, number 12, Jess Gang. Batting sixth and pitching for today's game, number 16, Eden Pufall. Batting seventh in the DP position, number 7.
Good afternoon and welcome to the campus of Concordia University Chicago as we get set for this Northern Athletics Collegiate Conference softball matchup between your Cougars of Concordia University Chicago and the visiting Regents of Rockford University. Peter Borkowski here on the Cougar Sports Network, joined by Troy Prattley in the booth. And Troy, it's crunch time now for all the teams in the NAC, especially squads like CUC and Rockford in terms of the playoff hunt. CUC sitting at 10th spot. The top 8 teams get in the NAC, so CUC 2 behind the 8th place Edgewood Eagles. CUC with a 6-14 record, and right behind them in the standings at number 11 are these Regents, 4-12. So Troy, with 4 games left in the season for CUC, including these 2 against a team right behind them, you can really feel just the importance of this last week of play for CUC. They're in striking distance of the last playoff spot, the last few playoff spots, but they got to have a good day, a good week, and it starts with a good day today against Rockford.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Peter, and both of these teams, Cougars and the Regents, not only have to handle their business this week, but they also need help from other teams, and a couple of those teams, just to mention, Edgewood and Wisconsin Lutheran, who sit currently in those 2 spots above CUC and Rockford, and both of those teams are going to have to lose a couple games. Now it gets tricky, though, because Edgewood and WLC play this week. So one of those teams, they're going to get victories automatically, right? And so the path to the conference tournament for both of these teams is pretty messy at this point. But that being said, the only path forward for both these teams is to win the games ahead of them. And if they don't do that, you've got no shot anyway, right? So that's got to be the focus for both of these teams.
Right, CUC sitting 2 wins behind the 8th seed Edgewood. Rockford sitting 4 wins behind the 8th seed Rockford. So CUC can effectively end Rockford's season here with a sweep. Even a split would go a long way in terms of knocking Rockford out of playoff contention. But we're about to get underway here, and it all starts with the starter in the circle for CUC. It's the sophomore, number 16, Eden Pufall, as her first pitch is rocketed up the middle right by her own glove. That is going to be a first pitch leadoff hit for Rockford's right fielder, Olivia Lysat.
And that was the approach right there from the leadoff hitter. Normally you like to see him take a few pitches, but you know what? If you get a fastball right over the heart of the plate, that might be the best pitch you get all at bat. So you take it right away, and worked out there in favor of the Regents.
As for Pufall, coming into today, 23 appearances. She started 13 games so far this year, a 5.31 ERA, 3-8 record. As there was a bunt attempt, but missing the bunt was Alexis Schultz, the left fielder for Rockford. So she falls behind in the count, 0-1.
You see the corners charging here for CUC. So if the bunt does get down, you'll look at third base being open and on Contopoulos there from left field to come cover third.
And there's another missed bunt by Schultz, so she's 0 for 2 on the bunt attempt. So she falls 0-2 in the count now, likely taking the bunt out of the equation. You see Cougars third baseman Bella Archuleta back up a little bit, still ready to charge in case anything happens. That pitch is low, so taking ball 1 is Alexis Schultz, as she comes into today batting .212 in 21 appearances, 33 at-bats, 7 hits out of it. And she's going to try to move the base runner at first. Lysat over, as here's the 1-2, and that's a soft dribbler. Arissa Santos throws it to second, and it brings Emily Garcia off the bag. So safe at first and second are Schultz and Lysat, respectively. And with 2 outs, Rockford is already cooking here in the top of the first. With no outs, Rockford's already cooking here in the top of the first.
Yeah, you see right there Garcia just a little too eager to get to second base, and that short hop kind of threw the timing off between Santos and Garcia, and coming across the bag too early was the case there, and the high throw definitely didn't help.
So momentum carrying her off the bag, as there's ball 1 issued to the first baseman, Emily Down. She's been Rockford's best hitter this year, best eligible hitter this year in terms of batting average, a .267 mark in 30 games played. As the 1-0 from Pufall is taken for strike 1, 1-1 the count.
And this Rockford team comes into today's doubleheader, last in the conference in team batting average. They hit .265 as a squad, which which is last in the NAC, and so that'll be something to keep an eye on today as they've got a pair of hits here in just the first inning.
Say the 1-1 gets into left center. Olivia Stroker picking it up and throwing it to Arissa Santos. So back-to-back-to-back singles for Rockford gets us underway here. And already 10th-year head coach of the Cougars, Sarah O'Malley Fisher, has to come out and have a chat with her hurler, Pufall, as Rockford's got the bags loaded, nobody out yet.
And this is something we see pretty often from CUC. You know, they've got Ashley Schroll, who will throw game 2 here at the doubleheader, and usually outside of the game that Schroll pitches, it's very much pitching by committee. And, you know, this week when I got to sit down with Coach O'Malley Fisher for the Coaches Weekly, we discussed the pitching staff as a whole and how they've progressed from the beginning of the year to now. And it really still is a young staff, right? You've got Schroll, you know, kind of leading the way with the most experience, but, you know, Eden Pufall here, just a sophomore, and didn't get to pitch a ton last year. And so really a freshman from that standpoint, so not a ton of innings thrown by the rest of the pitching staff. And so as the year's gone on, it's been a lot better, but Pufall here in some trouble early.
As she issues a ball high and away to Cariana Williams, the center fielder for Rockford. Ashley Schroll led the Cougars staff in innings pitched last year with over 126. The next closest player had less than half of that and is also no longer on the squad. So between Eden Pufall, Callie Tierney, Emily Borelli, and Megan Buska, this is like Troy said, a very young Cougars pitching rotation in terms of innings pitched, besides the junior Schroll, who we'll likely see in game 2. As there's a swing and a miss, a back pick attempt, the third, throw to second. No one is out. Everybody's safe. Meanwhile, the count 2-1 on Williams.
There'll just be something to keep an eye on, see how long Pufall goes here in game 1. And a lot of times the strategy's been throughout the year is throw, you know, the first pitch or the first couple innings, and then, depending on how that goes, re-enter them to finish the game as well.
And she issues a nice sinker to Williams for strike 2. Good break on that ball. Caught Williams off guard. So 2-2 count. This would be a huge strikeout for Pufall. Nobody out. Bases loaded already here in the top of the first. So big pitch coming up as Pufall sends the 2-2. Popped up, fouled back. So we'll get set to do it again.
The infield is in, so early in this game there it appears as if they're going to fire 4 on a ground ball, and that's another unique strategy as well. Typically, early in the game you'll go for the outs and concede the runs just because it is so early and you haven't even gone to bat yet, but we'll see the Cougars infield in here.
As that ball gets over the outstretched glove of Melissa Hasek, that'll score at least one. That's all it'll score. So an RBI single for Cariana Williams. And we have our first run of the day. Lysat crosses home, makes it 1-0 in favor of the visiting Regents.
And we've seen the Regents with some really good approaches here so far. That leadoff pitch, took it right back to center field, and then a nice 2-strike little poke there from Williams, and Down able to put the one into left center on a pretty good ride as well. So pretty good contact here early so far in the first inning, and still with nobody out.
And we haven't really seen any long at-bats either. That last at-bat by Williams was really the first one that went any significant distance. So other than that, Rockford is attacking Pufall early in the count, as here's the 0-1. And taking that is Enedy Perez, the designated player for Rockford. 242 average on the season in 25 games played, all of which have been start for number 24 in purple. As Pufall checks the sign from her battery mate, Jessica Gang, and issues a strike, clips the edge of the zone. Good pitch there, as Perez now falls down in the count 1-2. CUC has turned 14 double plays coming into today. Second most in the conference, as here's a slow roller. Pufall's going to send it back to the plate. The throw to first is not going to be in time. So only one out, but the Cougars get the force out at home. So that keeps Rockford off the board. that at bat. So good play there, good recognition by Pufall to send that right back to home for Jess Gang.
Yep, that's as good as a strikeout as far as the Cougars are concerned. Not moving any runners, not allowing a run to score, and an out up on the scoreboard.
Bases still loaded, 1 out now as the first pitch hits the strike zone to Riley Klima. Klima coming into today, 348 average in just 18 games played, so not enough to qualify. Rockford only has 5 players who've had enough playing time to qualify for stats. So this is a Rockford team led by first-year head coach Annika Bartz, who likes to use their depth. And a lot of bats up there, as it's an 0-2 count to Klima. Pufall delivers that ball way outside, so ball 1.
Not sure if you can tell from the way that the camera's positioned, but you've got Williams out there signaling to Klima the location of Jessica Gang, the catcher. And that last pitch, she was signaling outside, as that's where the pitch went.
As here's a roller to Arissa Santos. Gets one out. The throw to second is not in time. Late call from the ump, but the Cougars, a big inning ending double play courtesy of Arissa Santos, Emily Garcia, and Melissa Hajik. So bases loaded, nobody out. The Cougars, they only give up 1 run, and they have a chance to get some runs up on the board for themselves as we head to the bottom of the first here. Rockford on top of CUC 1-0. We'll be back on the Cougar Sports Network in just a second. Bottom of the first, Cougars trail 1-0, so they got some work to do, and they're going to have to do it against the senior pitcher for Rockford. That is number 1, Maria Martinez, as her first pitch of the game misses for ball 1 to Arissa Santos. Martinez coming into the game, 24 appearances, 15 starts, 3.21 ERA, as that ball misses as well. 2-0 the count now. Lowest ERA of any Rockford pitcher with more than 1 appearance on the year. And she quickly falls in a 2-0 hole to CUC's leadoff batter as Arissa Santos drives that one into deep left. That's got a chance. It's got more than a chance. Home run! Arissa Santos, 1 at bat, ties this game up herself. A solo shot to left field, and the Cougars tie it up here. No outs on the board. 1-1 ball game.
And Arissa Santos, leads this team in home runs, and a player that has hit anywhere between first and fourth in this lineup so far this year. And Coach Sarah O'Malley Fisher ultimately landing here in the leadoff spot the past few doubleheaders. And she's a player that came out of the scene last year as a freshman and earned honor mention all conference honors, and was a player that really led that Cougar offense, and now in year 2 for her sophomore campaign, leads the team in average, leads the team in home runs.
As here's a bunt attempt by Garcia. To throw to first is going to be just in time. Good play there from the third baseman, Klima, to catch Emily Garcia out on the bunt.
And talking to Coach Sarah O'Malley-Fisher, she's just been really proud of Santos' development in her sophomore campaign, because she says typically what happens is once teams know who you are, right? So after your freshman season, they're like, all right, this is a good player. And a lot of times, she says, the pitchers will look to avoid or pitch around, or they'll be very careful with players like that. But she said she's been really happy with how Santos has performed despite that, right? Still leading this team in home runs and batting average, even though the other team knows that Santos has been the best bat for the Cougars the last couple of years.
Yeah, the sophomore slump is a real thing, but Santos, who got off to a slower start at the beginning of the season, as Troy's mentioned, has quickly picked it up. That was home run number 8 on the year for Santos, RBI number 32. Both of those are far and away the best numbers on this squad. As here's a pop fly grabbed by the pitcher Martinez, so that'll sit down another CUC standout sophomore, Melissa Hajik. Flies out to the pitcher, and with 2 outs, it'll now be up to a senior on this squad. First upperclassman batter of the day for the Cougars, Bella Archuleta, third baseman, batting .306 across 34 games, 34 games played this year, as she takes a first pitch strike from Martinez.
Looked like Hajik just got that one off the handle there, jammed on the inside, and couldn't get her hands all the way around. Just kind of a funky spin off the bat, and didn't end up going very far. A fieldable ball for Martinez.
As for Archuleta, falls in an 0-2 count to Martinez, who, Troy, for someone who let up a leadoff home run, you could not tell the way she's pitched since. Of course, Emily Garcia with the bunt, but she able to jam up Hajik. So this has been a nice bounce back so far for Martinez after that first shot to left field.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you have to do is, just because you give up the home run doesn't mean you stop throwing strikes, right? And when you throw strikes, you rely on the defense to back you up. And that was a pretty good bunt by Garcia. It stayed pretty close to the third base line, but a nice play there by Klima to fire out and then throw strikes again and get Hajik on a soft fly out. So you just keep pounding the zone, throw strikes, and rely on the defense behind you to make those plays. And yeah, sometimes you are going to get beat, and the other team's just going to put a good bat on the ball, and you just can't win all of those times, right?
Meanwhile, Archuleta gets rung up on a low pitch, so she strikes out looking, and that'll do it for the inning. 3 straight outs from Martinez, but she gives up the leadoff homer to Arista Santos, and after 1 inning, we are all tied up 1-1, Cougars and Regents. We'll have the second inning coming up shortly for you in just a second. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Cougars Sports Network. Jayton Kruger will lead us off here in the top of the second. 1-1 ball game between the Cougars and the Regents in a game that has some major playoff implications, as the first pitch to Kruger is in there for a strike. And Troy, we're talking about pounding the strike zone with Martinez, and even though Pufall ran into some trouble in that first inning, she's been hitting the strike zone pretty good so far today. We've seen some good pitches clipping the edges, and again, despite her struggles in the first inning, she looks to be on it. As here's a backhand by Archuleta, throw across the diamond, just grabbed, and off the base was Hajik. It was a nice grab. She snow-coned it at the top of her glove, but the first base umpire ruling she was off the bag, as Here comes Coach O'Malley Fisher to have a chat with him now.
Well, as you were saying, Peter, before that pitch, 22 total pitches from Pufal and 16 strikes. Only 6 balls in that many pitches is pretty impressive. You know, even going into the bases loaded, nobody out situation, as Coach O'Malley Fisher will head back to the dugout, and we will resume play here.
And maybe that has something to do with Rockford's approach here. They know Pufal likes to throw a lot of strikes, so they're going to attack her early. That ball was put in play on just the second pitch, as here is the catcher for Rockford, Michaela Howard. That last name might be familiar to Cougar fans. Her older sister, Haley Howard, played at CUC for 4 seasons. Made an all-conference team in her senior year last season. As now the Cougars have to face the younger Howard here today against Rockford as she drives this one into deep center, but going back for it is Olivia Stroker and making the grab, no issue, for out, number 1.
That was a good bat on ball there as well there from Howard, but just kind of got caught up in the wind there, and Stroker really didn't have to move that far to secure out number 1 here in the second inning.
And it looked good off the bat, but kind of got caught up there in the air. As now it'll bring up the 9-hole hitter, Jocelyn Callahan, shortstop for Rockford, as she's immediately showing bunt. Stepping up to the plate, Archuleta and Hajik, the corner infielders for CUC, weigh in as she lays it down. It's a good bunt. Archuleta scoops it up, throws to first, not in time. Amazing bunt there from Jocelyn Callahan. Almost died straight in the dirt. And Archuleta is not able to get it to first in time. So that'll be a successful infield single for Jocelyn Callahan.
Now batting for the Regions, number 3, Olivia Lysak.
It's interesting, the lineup approach there from first-year head coach Annika Bartz, and Callahan second on this team in hits. And with speed like that, it's typical of someone you might find at the top, first or second. But electing to go in the 9-hole, get on base, turn it over to the top of the order is not completely unheard of. But typically when you don't have a player hitting above 270, someone with that kind of speed and the ability to get on base like that would presumably be towards the top of the order.
So you do see that approach across all levels of softball and baseball. See in the MLB a lot of managers putting a good hitter in the 9-hole to hopefully get on for the top of their lineup. All kind of depends on who you have in that first slot. As for the Regents, as getting thought about a throw down to second, instead she'll just hold on to a 3-0 count on the leadoff hitter of the day for Rockford, Olivia Lysak. The right fielder singled on the first pitch of the game. As here's a 3-0 from Pufal. Just gets the bottom of the zone. Strike 1, so 3-1 the count now.
So Pufal here trying not to load the bases for the second straight inning. That would put a lot of pressure on the Cougars defense. They were able to get out of it in inning number 1, but we'll see what happens here in the second inning as there's ball 4, and so we get back-to-back innings with the bases loaded for the Regents. We'll see if they can knock a couple in and come through this time around.
As Jess Gang heads out to have a chat with her battery mate Pufal. And despite loading the bags with nobody outlasting, the Cougars able to limit it to just 1 run of damage. As they're in a little bit of a better situation here. Already 1 out on the board. 1 good pitch they could get out of this.
So see if the defense is in here, the infield. We'll see. They do look to be pretty in.
Archuleta and Hajik in the corners coming in a little bit. Not too much, but just enough to be ready for anything, as that first pitch is high for ball 1.
You saw in the windup, the windup there from Pufal that the middle infielder snuck in as well.
Alexis Schultz at the plate, hit into a fielder's choice, but everybody reached safely in the first inning. In her first at bat, as she knocks this one back foul against the netting. So 1-1 the count now. Rockford Rockford with already 4 hits up on the board through just an inning and a third played so far. As there's a grounder, Arissa Santos. She goes back to home. Jess Gang makes a catch and stays on the plate for the out. Good reach there by Jess Gang. And to really extend to grab that throw from Santos, but able to do it. And interesting choice there, Troy Santos. That looked like a double play ball written all over it. Instead, she elects to go home with it and get the force out for just 1.
Yeah, it's possible that, she thought that Scholl had a little bit more speed coming down the first baseline than was the case the first time around when they turned the double play. And it could also be that they barely turned that double play in the first inning. Regents fans might not have thought they did. So maybe just rather take the out at home, not give up the run, and leave it to chance to turn that double play.
Plus now Pufall just has to worry about getting 1 out, whether it's a strikeout or even a deep fly into the outfield. Anything will end this inning with the bags loaded. Just cannot let Emily down, who had a single in her first at-bat, reach safely. As the 1-0 way above the head of Gang. She had to spring up to grab it. Good snag there. Might have saved a run with the runner at third, Jocelyn Callahan, clearly having some speed as we saw on her infield bunt single. 2-0 count now on Emily down. As that pitch hits the strike zone. First strike of the at-bat. Cariana Williams had the RBI single in the first inning. She waits on deck. Down has to reach safely, though, to get to Williams. Pufall gets the sign from her catcher. The pitch, the 2-1, outside, 3-1. And now Pufall at risk of walking a run in.
This is the best situation as a batter. You have to get something over the plate. So you're sitting fastball all the way here. And if it's not good, you let it go. You live to play another pitch. But 3-1 looking fastball over the heart of the plate and not going to be scared to take it.
As that pitch is over the glove of Bella Archuleta, that'll score 1. RBI single for Emily down. And Rockford tacks on another run. They retake the lead 2-1 here in the top of the second. Jocelyn Callahan coming home to score. It pushes Lysat to third and Schultz.
So actually
second.
An almost identical RBI single is what we saw in the first inning, except the first inning it was over Hajik's head, and the second inning over Archuleta's head, but kind of a soft liner in both situations. So we'll see if the rest of it plays out.
As there's a liner past the diving Archuleta. Contopoulos scoops it up, but it'll score another run, another RBI single for Williams, her second in as many at-bats, and that makes it a 3-1 ball game as Lysat comes home to score. And Troy, it brings up a good point. You're talking about the identical RBIs. The last RBI for Rockford is that they haven't really hit any hard-hit balls. I mean, that one was a pretty good hit, but it only resulted in a single. They only have singles on the day, so this is a team as here's another roller. Archuleta grabs it, just steps on third for the force out. So we can talk about that more in a second. Rockford, however, they load the bags again. This time they get 2 runs out of it. They retake the lead. It's now 3-1 Rockford as we head into the bottom of the second. We'll have more for you in just a second on the Cougars Sports Network. Jess Gang at the plate for CUC. The CUC backstop leading off here in the bottom of the second as the first pitch from Martinez taken high for ball one.
So now the Cougars are going to look to respond here after a 2-run second inning from the Regents, and it was 1 run for each team in the first inning, so the Cougars are able to respond in the first. We'll see if they do it here in the second.
Well, they need to get some base runners here. The only base run of the day was the solo shot from Marissa Santos, as Gang's going to look at ball 3, so 3-0 count now against Martinez. You know, Troy, after, I kind of alluded to it when we last saw Martinez, but after that leadoff homer, she's looked pretty darn good so far for Rockford as she issues a strike to Gang. Her defense helped her out on a nice bunt from Emily Garcia, but after that, a very short pop fly from Hajik and then struck out Archuleta looking. So Martinez not appeared to be too shaken up by the first at-batter for CUC and a homer, but she does walk the first batter this inning, Jessica Gang. A 4-1 walk. And now it'll bring up Martinez's opposing pitcher, Eden Pufall, coming up to the plate.
Yeah, and you know, it could be because Martinez has given up 7 home runs before today's game, so 8 now on the season. And so when you've given up that number, you are kind of forced to decide how you bounce back.
Pufall lays down a bunt and stays fair. They get her out at first, but a successful bunt moves Jess Gang over to second. That ball had some nice spin on it, but instead first baseman Emily Down elected to pick it up and get the out.
Yeah, maybe caught the Regents a little bit surprised there, but a good play nonetheless to be able to get Pufall moving down the first base line. But like you said, a successful sacrifice bunt, and that's exactly what the idea was. Obviously you'd love to have first and second nobody out, but at the end of the day, that's not why the play was called.
As Kyler Morris steps up to the plate, immediately skyrockets the first pitch. It is grabbed by the second baseman Kruger. So 2 outs here. And now the Cougars are going to have to rely on Olivia Stroker, another freshman in the CUC lineup, to make some noise here. She has to reach safely, keep the inning alive. As the first pitch to Stroker, low and away, ball 1. Stroker so far this year, 10 for 54 at the plate, 185 batting average, 25 games played, 19 of which have been starts for the outfielder, as she takes a pitch there for ball 2.
Martinez doesn't like that call there, but one thing that's interesting about the way the Cougars have handled this inning, so you get a 5-pitch walk from Gang and then 2 consecutive outs on the next 2 consecutive pitches. And so 4 out of the first 5 pitches of the inning were balls, but then you go back and you sacrifice on the first pitch and you're swinging at the first pitch of the next at-bat, so 2 pitches, 2 outs after a 5-pitch walk.
Yeah, and it seems that when they or try to get to Martinez a little bit in terms of making her pitch, that's when they have success. Of course, Larissa Santos hit her home run in just 2 pitches, but Jess Gang able to work the count up, got the walk out of it, and now Olivia Stroker in a 3-0 count. So CUC having much more success when they wait a second rather than go swinging the first or second pitch, as there's ball 4 issued. So second walk of the inning, and it'll keep the inning alive, as now it's the 9-hole hitter, Haley Goldsby, 305 batting average, 33 games played, 31 of which have been starts for the sophomore outfielder for CUC, usually seen in center. Today she gets the spot in right here in game 1. As the first pitch to Goldsby, she's going to take down the middle for strike number 1.
Yeah, it's been a really steady sophomore season for Goldsby as well. This Cougars team's got a nice young core, just been a little bit of a struggle this year being consistent. A lot of splits and a lot of times where they get down early in games and then have to try and climb back, and sometimes they do so and sometimes they're unable to do so, and so that's really why they're sitting at the record that they are, and it's just consistency. And
That's something Coach Sarah O'Malley Fisher talks about a lot, is just being able to do the good things and the little things more often.
10-23-1 overall on the year for CUC, 6-14 in conference play. As the 1-2, Goldsby fouls off to stay alive. And speaking of Goldsby, you said she's been a consistent force for CUC, and she's doing that usually towards the bottom of the lineup. In her freshman year last year, we saw her towards the top half a ton when she was batting, and now Coach O'Malley Fisher moving her down, and she seems to be finding success in the lower half of the lineup. She takes a ball to stay alive, 2-2 the count.
Yeah, she's been a player that in the movement between Garcia and Santos at the top of the order, Goldsby's been another one of those that somewhere in the puzzle has been Haley Goldsby in the 2 spot, sometimes in the 5 spot, just trying to figure out what the best order is with all these hitters, and ultimately, she has landed a lot of times in this 9-hole position, and the way that Coach Sarah O'Malley Fisher has it today with Santos 1 and Garcia 2.
The 3-2 in the dirt, ball 4. So Goldsby able to fight back from an 0-2 count and walk number 3 of the inning for Martinez. Loads the bags, and now it's probably the last batter she wants to face, Arissa Santos. And I mean, we talked about it with the bottom of the order with Jocelyn Callahan last half inning, but this is what you want to see, the bottom of the order, people like Haley Goldsby who could just get on base, however it is, whether it's that they're batting over 300 or they can draw walks. So when you get to the top of the order with Arissa Santos, she can hopefully do things like we saw her do in the first inning. And she takes a ball for the first pitch from Martinez, who's really struggling to find the strike zone when the Cougars actually make her pitch. Let's see, as Troy mentioned, there are only 2 outs this inning. The 2 outs this inning, I should say, were both on the first pitch. One was a sac bunt. And every time they've made Martinez pitch past that, she's walked the batter. The 1-0, Santos pops this one up. It's not going to leave the infield, getting under it, and making the grab for out number 3 is Emily Down, the first baseman. So the Cougars, they strand the bases loaded, and we now head to the top of the third. CUC still trailing Rockford 3-1. We'll have more for you in just a second on the Cougars Sports Network.
More about Concordia Chicago, head to cuchicago.edu for information on our university.
We appreciate you tuning into today's game and hope to see you at CUC very soon. Roll Cougs!
New pitcher in the circle for CUC. Eden Pufal's day is done for now. Of course, with softball, could always see her make a return. The Cougars, no strangers to that strategy. But for now, they hand the ball over to freshman pitcher Megan Buska, who has been one of the most consistent pitchers on the staff for CUC. 20 appearances, 1 start, 3.66 ERA, 3-3 record across 44 innings flat, as our first pitch of the game is high for ball number 1.
Yeah, and it's something we've talked about multiple times now, is this strategy here with the pitching staff, very much pitching by committee
in the game in which Schroll does not pitch for CUC. So
as that ball is driven into deep left, but it's going to go foul. That was a extremely well hit ball from Riley Klima. Just drifted foul, so 1-1 the count.
You know, it's very possible we see Buska go 2 innings here, maybe see Borelli for an inning, something like that, and then Pufal to re-enter. That's been a very typical way that CUC's handled one of the 2 games in a doubleheader.
And the off-speed catches Klima up, so 1-2 count, but if you look at the innings pitched by CUC pitchers, it really is this trio we've been talking about. Pufal, who started the game, Buska, who we are seeing now, and then Ashley Schroll. Those are the top 3 pitchers as that ball misses high, 2-2 count. Schroll leads the way with 80 and a third pitched. Pufal following at 63 and a third, and then Buska at 44. After that, you have Emma Borelli at 24 and 2/3. So it's really this main trio for CUC pitching-wise as that ball is popped up. Alyssa Contopoulos has to come in and makes the grab for out number 1.
So a good first batter there for Buska, able to get a soft fly out after the long foul ball there.
But Klima did do a good job of getting her to throw a lot of pitches. So she gives her Rockford batter something to see before they come up to the plate against Buska for the first time. And Kruger takes a strike. Kruger reached on an error to lead off the second inning. As Buska gets the sign from Jess Gang, now delivers, and that ball is going to nick Kruger. Just barely. She didn't even really react to it.
No, the only reaction was toss the bat and head to first base.
Sometimes you just got to be confident. If you think you got hit, just go for it. Worst thing they can do is call you back to the plate. So hit by pitch puts Kruger on first base runner of the inning, and now it'll be Michaela Howard. As she looks at strike 1, Howard flew out to center field. It's a well-hit ball, just got caught up in the air. Gave Olivia Stroker plenty of time to get under it, as the 0-1 is going to be a grounder. Archuleta throws the second for 1 to throw to first is just in time. Double play, Archuleta to Garcia to Hajik, and that'll end the third inning, and just 3 batters for Rockford. So we head now to the bottom half of the inning. CUC still trails by a pair. 3-1 is your score, as we are back on the Cougar Sports Network in just a second. Couple defensive changes here for Rockford. New pitcher in the circle, and it was the player who started the day at third base, number 8, Riley Klima, and taking over for her at third is number 5, Lauren Zielinski, as Klima's first pitch to Emily Garcia is in there for a strike. But interesting choice here for Rockford, Troy. Your starter goes 2 innings. ran into a bit of trouble a couple times last inning with the walk situation, but still kept the damage to just 1 run in those 2 innings. But Coach Bart's a quick leash on Martinez, already getting Klima in the game.
Yeah, we could be seeing a similar approach from Rockford as we're going to see from Concordia, just pitching by committee in this game, and so we'll see what happens if she re-enters. Now, the other thing we might see is, Martinez has the most innings pitched for Rockford, and it's really not even close. And the next person doesn't even have half as many innings pitched. So we might see her go game 2 as well, right? So, get her to throw a couple innings here. You've got to lead and then hand it off to the rest of the committee and then hope that Martinez is good to go for game 2.
Well, Klima's first at-bat turns into a walk to Emily Garcia as now Howard comes out to have a chat with her new hurler, but Klima is the pitcher closest to Martinez in innings pitched. She has 35 compared to Martinez's 85. And in those 35 innings, Klima has held her opponent to a 4.20 ERA. 10 appearances, 3 of which have been starts, a 3-2 record for Klima as she walks the first batter she faces today. Now goes up against Melissa Hajik, who flew out to the pitcher. As Hajik lays down a bunt, Garcia's going to be at second, and having trouble scooping it up is Zielinski. Welcome to the game, number 5. Messes up grabbing the bunt, and that'll be bases full at first and second for CUC. I think Zielinski just had trouble scooping it up against the dirt.
Yeah, she went elected for bare hand and was unable to get the first time, reached back kind of between her legs to pick it up the second time, but by then it was far too late, and Hajik was able to reach first.
As Archuleta shows bunt, that one by her ankle is able to pull back in time for the ball. It will be officially ruled a single for now to Hajik. And it will actually be changed to an error, excuse me. As there's ball 2 to Archuleta. So Rockford's first error of the game. Puts a runner on first. Runner at second, and Garcia as Archuleta lays down a bunt as well. Howard, the throw to first, is in time, but sack bunt by Bella Archuleta puts 2 runners in scoring position now. The tying run is at second. 1 out on the board for Jessica Gang at the plate.
So another well-executed at-bat there from CUC. We've seen a couple sacrifice bunts here in the early innings, and now you've got 2 runners in scoring position for Gang. It was another steady hitter for this CUC offense. She's hitting .348 this season, which is 3rd in batting average in this team.
First pitch is a strike to Gang. She walked in her first at-bat. She put something in play. CUC might be able to tie this one up as that ball skips past Howard. Coming home to score is Garcia. The flip not in time. Great base running, Emily Garcia. Cougars get a run back. Tying run at third base. And we have a 3-2 ball game now.
Yeah, and the backstop here in her force is actually fairly short. So you got to really have a good jump and be confident that you are coming home on a pass ball like that.
I mean, to be fair, that pitch looked bad from the start. It took a couple bounces before ricocheting off of Howard. It will be a passed ball on Howard. Even though, again, that was a tough ball to play as Gang fouls that one back. Count at 1 and 2. So an unearned run given up by Klima, tying run at third. As the next offering, Gang drives that one into left, and that's going to be over the glove of Schultz. Coming home to score is Hajik, and we got a brand new ball game. RBI double, Jess Gang, 3-3 ball game. And the Cougars still got some damage to do with another runner in scoring position.
And that was a ball that was just misplayed out there in left field. It looked good coming off the bat, but kind of got spun around out there in left field was Schultz, and unable to really put a good attempt at that one.
As there's a strike issue to a new batter for CUC, Megan Buska. The pitcher takes over for Eden Pufaw in the 6th hole. Yeah, it looked like, I'm not a softball outfielder by any means, but it looked like a very playable ball for Schultz out there. And like you said, Troy, she just misplayed it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it'll be ruled a double because it was a good shot out there, and really there was no glove attempt at it, but probably in most situations a routine fly ball to left field.
It looked like she attacked it at first and then had to retreat and just couldn't get back in time. As just fouling that one off is Buska to stay alive. And Schultz also to try and make an over-the-shoulder catch, even more hard. As for Buska at the plate, we already talked about what she's done in the circle, but at the plate this year, 293 average in 31 games played, 41 at-bats, 12 hits out of it. As she puts this one in play, be grounded to Kruger. She flips it to first in time for the out, but it does move Jess Gang over to third. So CUC, the leading run is at third. It's up to McKyler Morris to try and drive her home now.
And Morris, we saw in her first at-bat, take the first pitch and fly it straight up in the air. So we'll see what the approach is here, as you probably don't consider swinging at that
I don't
pitch.
think you're going to swing at that one. Way outside from Klima. Morris, didn't even get to talk about her stats on the year. A 314 average. She takes a big heck at that one for a strike. She has found ways in this Cougar lineup, whether it's playing at third when Archuleta is not there or DPing like she is today. She's seen some pinch hitting, some pinch running. I heard someone describe her as just a good softball player, and I think that's the perfect way to phrase it. Wherever you put her in, she's going to find success. As the 2-1, she's going to take for a strike. That was a tough pitch. As here comes the 2-2, and Morris lays off it in the dirt, bounces away from Howard. Gang wisely stays at third.
One thing that's interesting, going back to what you were just talking about, Peter, is just looking at these stats here so far this year. She's only started 13 games, yet she's top 8 in at-bats, right? So this is a player that has seen a lot of action, just not necessarily consistently starting.
Well, she strikes out swinging here to end the third, but the Cougars, they get a pair of runs back. A passed ball allowed Emily Garcia to score, and then Jess Gang tied it up with an RBI double to left field. So we head now to the 4th inning, another brand new ball game, 3-3 all. As you're watching the Cougar Sports Network, we'll be back in just a second. Fourth inning time here in River Forest, and we'll start things off with Jocelyn Callahan as she immediately pops up the first pitch. A couple Cougars make chase, but it ends up being the shortstop, Arissa Santos, making the play. 1 pitch, 1 out for Megan Buska here in the 4th, and that brings us back to the top of the lineup with Olivia Lysat.
Just a very different approach there than the first time around. from Callahan. We saw that square slap bunt as she was headed out from the left-handed batter's box for a pretty easy infield hit her first time around. At that time, chasing a high and outside pitch on the first swing there for an easy out number 1.
As the 0-1 is fouled off by Lysat. 1 for 1 on the day, a single and a run scored in the first, and then was walked in the second. Eventually came home to score as well. As now she faces an 0-2 count to Megan Buska, who has looked pretty good so far since coming in the third. As she delivers the 0-2. That one in the dirt, bounces away from Yang. No one on base, so no harm, no foul. 1-2 the count.
And for Rockford, as we talked about earlier, hitting 250 as a team. Right now they're hitting 375, but earlier they were 6 for their first 12. Right now they're 6 of 16, so the last 4 batters Buska's been able to put down without any damage, moving that batting average closer back to that 265 mark. Right now 375. So far here in game number 1, Peter.
Hey, Buska got a fly out in her first at bat, hit a batter, but then got her out on a double play ball to Michaela Howard. And then, as we just saw, Jocelyn Callahan flying out to Arissa Santos. She now loads up the count against Olivia Lysat. First time we've really seen Buska get in trouble with the pitch count. And it's the batter as she delivers the 3-2. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Buska fooling Lysat. That'll be out number 2. It'll bring up Alexis Scholl. Well, we've seen that a couple of times, Troy, from Buska breaking out a little off speed. And it just has been fooling these Rockford batters. That's the first strikeout she gets from it, but that seems to be a killer pitch in her arsenal.
And it's a pitch that you really like to have. Fastball, rise ball, change up, and maybe some sort of curveball as well. But you've got multiple that you can go to that are effective.
Gloved by Archuleta. She makes the play over to first in time. Stolen it out there from Marissa Santos, but I don't think the Cougars are going to be too bothered by it. Out number 3, and that'll do it for the top of the 4th. 1, 2, 3 go the Regents. We head now to the bottom of the 4th. Cougars look to take their first lead of the day. We'll have that for you when we're back on the Cougar Sports Network in just a second. Olivia Stroker leads us off here as she immediately fouls the first pitch off. So it'll be an 0-1 count to Stroker, who drew a walk back in the second inning. One of the 3 walks Martinez issued that inning probably led to the decision to put Klima in. As now it's a 1-1 count on Stroker. Stroker swings through that one, 1-2 count.
Yeah, it was on the throwback there to the circle. The ball hit Stroker's bat. The bat fell, and the ball went flying towards second base.
As she makes proper contact with this one, and it's gonna be dropped by Schultz. It took us a second to figure it out. Schultz fell on top of it. And home plate umpire calling safe.
Yeah, it hit the kind of wrist, the inside wrist, palm of her glove area.
And then she fell over it, blocking our view.
And she did a good job of turning her back to the umpires, and that's really how you're taught to do it in a lot of sports, and even in a sport like football. When you make a diving play, you curl and turn away, so that there's really no way to tell whether or not you caught it
or not. And
yep.
If you pop up, you got the ball in your
Exactly
hands
right.
or your glove.
You pop up and you show it real fast.
Well, in the meantime, Haley Goolsby lays down a sack bunt, so that moves Stroker over to second. Goolsby is out, but with the runner in scoring position, the Cougars turn it over to their one-hitter, Arissa Santos. 1 for 2 on the day with a solo home run to lead off the Cougars offensive in the bottom of the first, and then flew out to first to end the second. As it's now a 1-0 count on Santos. Next pitch, and she hammers that one into right, but right into the glove of Lysat. Looked good off the bat, but hit exactly where Lysat was. She just had to take a couple steps over, and she makes the grab for out number 2.
Now batting for the Cougars, number 22, Emily Garcia.
Now the Cougars will rely on their freshman here to try and take the lead here in the bottom half of the fourth.
And Garcia, despite being a freshman, as she drives that one into right, drifting foul, it's going to touch down. So it'll just be strike number 1. Olivia Stroker already crossing home. She'll have to retreat back to second. 0-1 count on Garcia. Garcia 0 for 1 on the day, a ground out in the first, and then she drew a walk in the third, came home to score on a passed ball. As she pops that one up, it's going to stay in the infield, coming in and making the, dropping it, botching the catch was Kruger. Wow. I thought she had that one, and instead it'll be the 4th run of the day for CUC, and they're going to take the lead.
Yeah, it could have been sun, factor. It's pretty much right above the field right now, so looking straight up at that could have been a possibility there. Hard to tell, though.
Hajiq fouls one off for the first pitch. As Rockford's outfielder slash infielder, everyone on the field having a little trouble making grabs today. It will be an error for Kruger, so an unearned run.
And they've got only 2 errors officially, but possibly could have been a third out there in left field, and 2 of them have cost runs directly, and the third has led to runs.
Hajiq drives that one into left center, but making the grab this time for sure was Williams. That'll be out number 3, but the Cougars, thanks to the dropped ball from Kruger, they score their 4th run of the day. They take a 4-3 lead into the top of the 5th. Rockford now playing from behind for the first time. See what they can do when they come up to bat on the Cougars Sports Network.
Concordia, Chicago.
Head to cuchicago.edu for information on our university.
We appreciate you tuning into today's game and hope to see you at CUC very soon.
All right, Abby. Emily Down will lead us off here as she immediately drives this one into deep left. Katopoulos going back. It's gone. Lead off home run, Emily Down. And that'll tie us up right away, right after the Cougars take the lead. Down, ties it up with one swing of the bat. 4-4 ball game here in the top of the 5th.
Yeah, well, first pitch, first swing, first hit, first run in the inning.
Can't get much better than that.
Efficient.
Second leadoff homer we've already seen today. Marissa Santos had one in the bottom of the 1st for CUC. Down responds here in the top of the 5th. And we're going to have a little bit more offense in this game for a decision to be made. Nobody out. Kariana Williams at the plate. 2 for 2 on the day, a pair of singles, both of which drove in a run. So she gets her first look at Megan Buska. And Williams makes contact off the tip of the bat. Haji can't scoop it up, and that'll be safe at first for Williams. That ball had a really weird spin on it off of the bat.
That was the old pool shot right there. A little cue right off the old dinker, and as good as a base hit.
And I think I don't know if freaked out is the right word for Hajik, but she had to take it herself because no one else was covering first. And so she tried to lean over to grab it and just couldn't scoop it up. We've seen a couple players have trouble picking up the ball out of the dirt so far today. It will be a single officially for Williams. As here's a hard hit ball. Archuleta throws it to second for one. The throw to first is in time. Double play. Cougars a double play machine today, and they clear the bases. Archuleta to Garcia to Hajik, and that'll put 2 outs up on the board.
Yeah, 3 double plays in 4.5 innings is pretty wild, actually, in softball at least. Maybe not in baseball, but in softball with the smaller base pass, it's impressive.
Well, in their 34 games played coming into today, CUC only had 14 double plays. Tied second most in the NAC, but still just goes to show how rare it is in the game of softball. And as Troy said, they have 3. As here's a ball against the outfield wall. Stroker scoops it up, throws it to second. Good throw by Stroker. That'll keep Klima at first.
Yeah, good job by Stroker and Contopoulos out there really converging on that ball, communicating. It went off the fence and bounced towards left field away from Stroker, but she was able to put a glove on it and fire it in. Garcia able to track it down and keep Klima at first base.
So runner at first for Chayton Kruger as she puts this one up in the air. Alyssa Contopoulos gets under it for the grab and out. Number 3, but Emily Down ties us up. A solo shot to lead off the inning, and we have a 4-4 game as we head to the bottom of the 5th. Cougars back up to bat. See what they do when we come back here on the Cougar Sports Network in just a second. Bella Archuleta will lead us off here in the bottom of the 5th after the solo shot from Emily Down. We have a 4-4 ball game here. Archuleta herself 0 for 1, a strikeout looking and a sac bunt so far in her 2 plate appearances. As Klima still dealing on the mound, and this ball is going to go foul down the right field line. First pitch swinging for Archuleta, and makes it a 0-1 count. fouled right back. So 0-2 count now. Here's the 0-2. In there, strike 3. Klima clips the edge of the zone, and for the second time today, Archuleta will be sat down looking. And you have to just Ging now to try and get on base for CUC.
Yeah, it's tough in both of those at-bats for Archuleta going down, looking. The first one kind of low and that one a little bit outside, but either way, close enough to call, so strike 3 looking.
As for Jess Gang, 1 for 1. She drew a walk in the second and an RBI single as she lined this one towards the Rockford dugout. The 1-1 the count. That RBI double in the third for Gang was the difference maker. Or tied us up, excuse me. Made it a 3-3 ball game. And here's the next offering outside to Gang. 2-1 the count. As Klima delivers a 2-1, Gang's going to take up high. 3-1 now. Gang will be followed by Megan Buska. As Gang makes contact with this, Callahan scoops it up, throws it to first in time for the out. So 6-3 grounder gets Gang out, and now it'll be Megan Buska. Megan Buska grounded out in her only at bat so far. That was in the third inning. As the first pitch to Buska gets just a piece of it, fouled back.
Yeah, time that pitch outside, Buska's kind of lined up in the middle of this left-hander's batter's box and unable to reach that outside pitch without stepping towards it.
As the 0-1 to Buska, she's going to foul that off as well, so quickly falls in an 0-2 hole.
Pitch had some good movement on it as well, moving outside in on Buska.
And now the 0-2 just misses high and away. 1-2 the count. And swing and a miss, strike 3. Buska goes down swinging, second strikeout of the inning for Klima. Cougars, they go 1-2-3. And we will now head to the top of the 6th. Looks like we'll have a new pitcher for CUC, so we'll have more info on her when we come back on in just a second. You're watching the Cougars Sports Network. New hurler on the mound is Callie Tierney, junior for CUC, making her 12th appearance as the first pitch is going to miss for a ball to Michaela Howard. Tierney on the year, 12 2/3 pitch.
That pitch is outside for another ball.
as Tierney struggled to find the zone here early in her outing.
So Tierney on the season, 14.37 ERA, has struggled a little bit through her 11 appearances, as now she issues ball 3 to Michaela Howard. Coach O'Malley Fisher usually has a short leash on Tierney as she issues ball 4 there to Howard. 4-pitch walk to get us started here in the inning. And she's pitched the least amount of innings for any CUC pitcher, 12 2/3, doing that across 11 appearances, so averaging a little over an inning an appearance for Tierney.
Giving up 26 earned runs as well, so over two runs an inning.
And in the meantime, we do have a pinch runner for Michaela Howard. Coming in is number 4, Mia Cosentino. As a bunt attempt is pulled back in time. So it'll be a ball to Callahan. Tierney still yet to issue a strike.
So I wonder if they have Callahan do this every time there's a runner on, maybe.
At least move the base runner over. And as we saw earlier, Callahan most definitely has the speed, as here comes Coach O'Malley Fisher now to have a chat. Tierney, 6 pitches, 6 balls issued, as the infield comes in as well. If there's a time to figure it out, it is now. Cougars in the bottom of Rockford's lineup. And coming up next, you have Lisat and Schultz, 1 and 2 hitters.
What you don't want to do is get it to Down and Williams with runners on. And Down and Williams are combined 6 for 6 today. Cougars have been unable to get them out. Just as simple as that. And so now we're in those batters are 3-4 hole. So 9-1-2 here coming up with nobody out, and you just can't have runners on when Down and Williams come to the plate.
Tierney issues a ball up and away, so 3-0. As Callahan's still showing bunt. Here comes the 3-0, and it's going to miss. Ball 4. Back-to-back 4-pitch walks for Callie Tierney. And don't see anyone warming up for the Cougs in the bullpen. Though, of course, you do have 2 pitchers in Buska and Pufal who should already be warm, and that they've already pitched today. As Tierney's got to figure it out quickly here. 2 runners on, still has yet to throw a strike. As her first pitch to Lysat will be ball 1.
I would guess that if she issues a 3rd walk here, that her day will be done. And it'd just be a matter of who do we see next. Is it Borelli, who we haven't seen yet, or do we re-enter?
As there's a fouled off, so first strike of the inning for Rockford. I do think I see Ashley Schroll start to move in the bullpen, but I'm going to guess that's more as preparation for game 2. And now we see Borelli. I don't even see her down in the bullpen, so it'll probably be Buska or Pufal returning us. Here's a grounder up the middle, pass to everybody into center field. Coming home to try and score is Cosentino. The throw to the plate is not going to be in time. RBI single for Olivia Lysant, and Rockford retakes the lead here. 5-4 ball game. No outs, top of the 6th, and here comes the pitching change. So the Cougars going to throw Eden Pufal back out there. She's got some work to do cleaning up. 2 runners on, nobody out. 1 run already across home for the Cougars, for Rockford, excuse me.
Now pitching for the Cougars, number 16, Eden Pufal. Did you miss that whole conversation?
So Pufal,
That's why I was talking about baby shark.
so far today, 2 innings pitched in the start, gave up 6 hits, 3 runs, 1 of which was earned. Also issued a walk across 43 total pitches. As now she has to take care of Callahan at second, Lystad at first, nobody out, as we are quickly approaching the heart of this Rockford lineup, who, as Troy mentioned, when you get to the 3-4 spots with Down and Williams, has been playing really, really well at the plate today. So Alexis Schultz at the plate now for Rockford, as she'll take the first pitch for a ball. 0 for 3 today, and a 2 fielder's choice and ground out. First pitch, next pitch, is lined into center field. Emily Garcia can't get a glove on it. That'll be another run coming across home. RBI single for Alexis Schultz. And Rockford ups their lead to 2, 6-4 here in the top of the 6th. Still no outs up on the board.
And it was kind of something we saw when Poofall was in the first time around. You know, the Regions attacking early in the count, sometimes on the first pitch, but we saw a lot of just dink and dunk singles, and that was hard hit. That's not a dink and dunk single right there, but we did see that a few times in those first few innings where it was a lot of base runners, but no extra base hits, right? And it's really what we've kind of seen the past, I mean, I guess throughout the duration of this game, really.
Say the only extra base hit was Emily Downs' home run, solo shot. So other than that, it's been all singles, walks, or hit by pitches for Rockford. As here's a 2-0 count to Emily Down. She has that solo home run as well as a pair of singles, driven in 2 runs already. As the next offering, that's a ball hit to Santos. She goes to third for the force out, and Archuleta is going to settle for that's all they get. But the Cougars get the lead runner out at third. Thanks to a fielder's choice from Emily Down. And now it'll be Kiriana Williams, 3 for 3 with 3 singles and a pair of RBIs so far today. First pitch to Williams up high for ball 1. The 1-0 is lifted into left field past Alyssa Contopoulos. 1 run will score. That's all that'll score. So an RBI double for Kiriana Williams. She continues her fantastic game 1 at the plate. And it's RBI number 3. And it is now 7-4 in favor of Rockford. Schultz down standing at third, as fouling that one off was Enedy Perez.
Just as we talked about not having extra base hits, William puts one out into left center field and ruins that talking point for the region. So, but if we look back to the batting average, they're now 12 of 27 at 444, 7 of 12 with runners in scoring position, which is 583. So they've been just fantastic with runners in scoring position, have the Regions been.
Well, for that at bat, Perez flies out. Little fly out to Orissa Santos. And with 2 outs on the board now, it'll be Riley Klima, Rockford's pitcher, trying to help herself out here. So far today, hit a double play, a fly out, and a single. As the first pitch, she pops up. Melissa Hajik gets under it and makes the grab for out number 3. But the Regents, they pile on 3 runs, and they take a 7-4 lead into the bottom of the 6th. Cougars got some work to do here in the last couple innings, see what they can do, and we're back on the Cougar Sports Network in just a second.
Guys, we appreciate you tuning into today's game. To stay up to date on all things CUC softball,
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CUC Softball. We'll see you on campus soon.
go Cougars!
New Cougar batter, first time we've seen her today, is number 8, Caitlin Smith. Batting for Morris in the designated player slot. She takes ball 1 from Klima. So far on the year, Smith, 212 average, 19 games played, 33 at-bats, 7 hits out of those. As it's now 1-1 count on Smith. She takes a hack at that one. So it'll be strike 2, 1-2. As that ball popped up and going foul onto Division Street.
Car count 1.
They got it on the bounce off the front hood.
Still counts.
Still counts. Made contact with the automobile.
I can't tell exactly. It's a black SUV.
Yeah, Chevy, I think, Chevrolet. The 2-2 hit towards Callahan, scoops it up, throws the first in time for the out. Out number 1. As Klima has really locked in here. Last Cougar to get a hit was Olivia Stroker back in the 4th as she swings through that one for a strike.
And worth noting, Peter, we talked about Rockford's team batting average a couple times today. CUC bats .294 in the conference, and that's 8th. 294 as a team, excuse me, and 8th in the conference. Right now they're 3 of 18, so only 3 hits today, and 167 is where they sit right now. So they're, over 100 points below their season average, while the Regents are, over 200 points, almost 250 points above.
As here's a grounder for Zielinski. Gets it there in time for the out. Yeah, but for Klima, I mean, ever since the single to Stroker in the 4th, Goldsby had a sacrifice bunt, but then she got Santos to line out. Garcia reached on the error, the dropped ball from Kruger that allowed Stroker to score. And since then, fly out, strike out, ground out, strike out, ground out, ground out. So Klima is really locking in here late in the game. And now she's got a 3-run lead to protect for just 4 more outs as that ball up and away. So 2-0 count now on Haley Goldsby.
What we've seen a lot from CUC is just being able to move on the base path without getting any hits, right?
As Goldsby hits this to Callahan. Callahan collects it, throws the first in time for the out. So we'll have to continue that talk when we get to the Cougars in the 7th inning. Now the question is, are they going to go into the final inning of their offense down by 3 or more? See what happens when we come back here. Top of the 7th coming up. You're watching the Cougars Sports Network. Top of the 7th time here in River Forest, and it'll be Chayton Kruger at the plate for Rockford. So far today, reached on an error, hit by pitch, and flew out as she's going to take a strike there. Eden Pufall still in the circle for the Cougars. Trying to keep this lead at 3 for offense.
For those NAC fans out there, which both of these teams,
as that ball rolls foul.
Both these teams playing in the Northern Athletic Collegiate Conference. It's a busy day for the conference. Marion at Lakeland, and that started just before our doubleheader here. CU Dub at St. Norbert. Wisconsin Lutheran traveled to Milwaukee School of Engineering, and then rounding out action in a non-conference game is Benedictine at North Central. So we'll hopefully have all Game 1 scores sometime in Game 2 for us here today. We'll be able to report on all of those matchups, our doubleheaders.
Say you see you're going to be watching that WLC MSOE game closely. WLC is in the spot directly above CUC as that hopper, gloved by Pufall, throws at the first in time for the out.
I think the way that the standings sit right now, even though WLC is above MSOE, I think that they need, the CUC needs WLC to lose today, but then beat Edgewood when those two teams play later on in the week, I believe is how that is needing to go for CUC, and I suppose for Rockford as well.
Well, CUC is tied with WLC in the win category. These teams split with each other on Saturday, so through the series of complicated tiebreakers, for whatever reason, WLC is above CUC in the standings. As the 1-0 liner up the middle, Michaela Howard going to reach base here. Second straight inning, Michaela Howard has gotten to first. We'll see if they pinch run for her again. And as of now, it's not looking like it. And they're going to keep Howard on first for Jocelyn Callahan now. But anyway, CUC tied with WLC in wins, but 2 wins behind Edgewood. So CUC hypothetically could go 10-14 on the season in conference play if they come back, win this game, win Game 2, sweep CU Dub on Friday. That'd put them at 10-14, which means that they can climb all the way to 7th, depending on what Marion and Edgewood do. Both those squads have 8 wins. MSOE has 10 wins in the 6th spot, but they swept the Cougars, so Cougars can't jump them, even if they also hit 10 wins. As that ball is fouled off.
You mentioned earlier that Benedictine had already secured their spot. As it sits right now, there are 5 teams that have clinched a spot in the postseason, and you said earlier as well that the top 8 make it in our conference tournament. So that's right now, Dominican, Lakeland, CU Dub, Aurora, and Benedictine are those top 5. And then if the season ended today, 6, 7, 8 would be MSOE, Marion, and Edgewood.
So it's those last 3 spots that you have a ton of teams fighting for. Alverno is out of the playoff race, essentially 2-20 on the year in conference play, and you have St. Norbert at 3-13 as another ball fouled off by Callahan. So really, it's coming down to MSOE, Marion, Edgewood, who are in the spots, as you said, Troy, and then WLC, CUC, and Rockford. So it should be a fun final week of play here in the NAC regular season. So you can clinch those last 3 playoff spots. Cougars got some work to do and need some help as the 1-2, they get her swinging. Callahan looks like she messed up the slap attempt. And so that'll be a strikeout for Poofall. And with 2 outs, runner on first, it'll now be Olivia Lysat.
Such a difficult thing to do when you're timing up fastball, fastball, fastball as a slapper, and you start to get that momentum, and it's so difficult when you get an off-speed pitch. You have to keep your feet inside the box, right? As soon as you take a step outside the box before you make contact, you're out anyway, and so you kind of have to pause your motion while still, maintaining body control to be able to put a good swing on the ball there. And so the off-speed pitch kind of just able to throw off the timing there for Callahan, and kind of just threw a last-second chop at it, knowing that it was going to be a called strike if she didn't swing at it. So, trying to get a last-second look there. But so a good call by Jess Gang, who calls the pitches for the CUC pitching staff, and a good execution there from Poofall in the circle.
In the meantime, she's worked a 1-1 count on Lysat, make it a 2-1 count. Looks like a close pitch, but home plate umpire not budging on her strike zone. So 2-1 on Lysat, who pair of singles, a walk, and a strikeout in her 4 at-bats. Her last single, which was hit last inning, was an RBI knock. As she lines that one into right field. That ball had some velo on it. It'll be a 2-out single for Lysat. She'll keep the inning alive. Moves Howard over to second for Alexis Schultz, who a couple fielders' choices, a ground out, and an RBI single in her 4 at-bats so far today.
I'm curious to know, see if I can find here how many, what the season record is for Rockford in hits in a single game. Right now they're at 14, and I would guess that would be pretty.
Well, for a team who does not get a ton of hits, they've been doing a really good job of it, and as we've repeatedly mentioned, it's been singles. We've seen a double, we've seen a home run, but other than that, this is a team who's just kind of pecking away at CUC, death by 1,000 cuts, if you will. Cougars will, of course, have a chance to tie it in the bottom of the 7th. They just hope it's still a 3-run deficit rather than something greater, depending on what Schultz does here. The 2-0 is outside, make it 3-0 now. Count on Schultz. Poofall delivers, and in there for a strike, so the at-bat will stay alive a little longer. 3-1 count. Up high, ball 4. So a 2-out walk will load the bags as here comes Sydney Palaskis-La, her assistant sports information director at CUC, as well as pitching coach for the Cougars, to come out and have a chat with her hurdler Eden Poofall, and CUC already done by 3 already down by 3 runs. They want to keep it there once we hit the bottom of the 7th.
And Peter, so unless I'm no good at math, which is very possible, this is a season high in hits for the Rockford squad by at least 3. The highest I could find was 11 hits in a single game, and they're at 14 right now.
This is a Rockford team, as we have mentioned, who struggle to get base knocks, get base hits, and hits of any kind. As Poofall gets set, it is Emily down and down. Lifts this one up. Arissa Santos makes the grab. So the mound visit worked for Sydney Ploskis-Lauer and the Cougars. They get a pop fly, and that'll end the inning with the bases loaded. Cougars down to their final 3 outs now. They need a trio of runs to at least force extras. See what happens when we're back on the Cougar Sports Network in just a second.
Thank you for tuning into today's game.
To stay up to date on all things CUC softball, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at CUC Softball.
We'll see you on campus soon.
For the Cougars, number 15, Arissa Santos.
Cougars down to their final 3 outs here, bottom of the 7th. They need to put up 3 runs to at least force extra innings, 4 to walk it off. But it all starts here with the leadoff hitter of the day for the Cougars, Arissa Santos, as she will take the first pitch outside for strike 1.
And there's no better spot where you'd want to be in the lineup than at the top of the order with your, down to your last 3 outs, having to get something going.
As here's a hopper to Callahan, throws it across the diamond in time for out number 1, and that is the 8th straight out recorded by Klima. The last time a Cougar reached was Emily Garcia in the 4th when she reached on an error. That was that dropped ball by Kruger, and since then it's been perfection by Klima as the first pitch to Garcia misses, makes it 1-0.
Another thing, Peter, is it's 4 ground balls to shortstop in the last 6 at-bats as well for CUC. So keeping Callahan busy.
As that ball misses 2-0. Well, Callahan's been doing a good job of it, so why not keep sending the balls her way? And here's the 2-0, and it's in the dirt, bounces away from Howard, so 3-0 count. on Garcia. As here's the pitch, and Garcia is going to take for ball 4. Garcia thought it was strike 1, but the umpire calling ball 4. I don't see that often where the batter is thinking it was the strike. And it's the ump who has to usher them along to the plate.
I guess better safe than sorry?
Maybe. Usually those batters take off and hope they can maybe convince the ump a little bit.
Yep.
Well, whatever the case, Emily Garcia ends up at first, and we have a pinch hitter now for CUC. Melissa Hajik will stick in the dugout for Gina Westfall. Westfall, a senior on this Cougars roster so far on the year. 6 for 43, a 140 batting average, but see if she can deliver here in the clutch. Cougars need a couple more base runners, though, as the tie-in run is on deck in Archuleta. Westfall takes ball 1.
Archuleta has hit 1 home run so far this year, so she does have the ability to go yard if we were to get to that point.
1-1 on Westfall now, as the 1-1 is fouled off, so 1-2 now. Well, for Archuleta to do any heroics, Westfall does need to get on. Cougars are going to need at least 3 base runners to tie this one up, as the 1-2 Westfall fouls off again. She stays alive. Archuleta would be fouled up by Jess Gang, but Cougars got to get to that point, as that ball misses. 2-2. Two and two count to Westfall, and she goes down swinging. Klima gets Westfall and sits her down for out number 2. And it'll now be Bella Archuleta. Has to reach safely to keep game 1 alive for CUC. While Klima and the Regents just need one more out here to pick up a win, as Archuleta drives this one into center. Going back is Williams, and she's not going to be able to make the grab. Garcia to third, and so a 2-out single by Bella Archuleta keeps us going. Let's say, Troy, that was a gutsy at bat. Pitt swinging on the first pitch with 2 outs on the board in the final inning.
I was trying to judge how high that went off the fence to see if it would have gone out in left or right.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
It looked about even with Williams.
Yeah, maybe a third of the way up the fence out in center field, but a good
As
shot.
Here's Jess Gang. That ball going back, and it is caught by Williams. A game-ending snag by Williams after she might have misplayed the ball from Archuleta. She gets Gang at the next at-bat, and that'll do it for game 1. So the Cougars drop game 1, 7-4, as the Regents, they will improve to 12-19 on the season, 5-12 in conference play, while the Cougars fall to 10-24-1 and 6-15 in conference play. Regents, they get 7 runs on 14 hits, 2 errors. The Cougars 4 runs on 4 hits. They committed 1 error. Let's look at some of the final statistics from the game. As for Rockford's offense, a huge boost from Williams, who made the game-ending grab. 4 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Down had a pair of RBIs as well with a home run. And then Lysat and Schultz both adding 1 ribby to the conversation. Still waiting on the official pitching decision, but I believe it'll be Klima listed with the win. 5 innings in relief, 3 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned, a pair of walks, and 4 strikeouts for Klima, who started the game at third nonetheless. As for CUC, offense coming from Arissa Santos, a leadoff homer in the bottom of the first, as well as Jessica Gang had an RBI double. Emily Garcia scored on a passed ball, as one Olivia Stroker on a dropped catch, an error. As for the Cougars pitcher, I believe the loss will go down for Callie Tierney. Gave up 1 hit, 2 runs, both of which were earned, and a pair of walks in no official innings pitched. So, but that'll do it for game 1. Troy, let's get your final thoughts on this first game before we get set for a little break here and then set for game 2 after that.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a lot, was consistency before the game started, and it's really we saw what a lack of, right? In the circle, we knew that the pitching by committee was going to be a thing here in game 1, but unfortunately it didn't work out in CUC's favor this time around, and then just consistency at the plate. Only 4 hits in a game was just not going to be enough to pull away a conference victory, and so they're going to have to regroup here for game number 2, and they'll have the ace in the circle, but even then, even with Stroll in the circle, 4 hits is likely not going to be enough in game 2 either. So going to have to figure something out offensively for the Cougars if they want a chance at a split today.
Well, we'll see what happens in game 2. As Troy mentioned, Ashley Schroll, our likely starter. We'll have to wait for the lineup from Rockford. So we're going to take a break here as the teams get set for game 2. Don't go anywhere, though. Game 2 coming up shortly here at the CUC softball field. We'll have that for you on the Cougar Sports Network in just a bit.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.